This is awkward for everybody watching. Hi, I just gave a really nice long speech about what we're doing today. I'm going to take it from the top so if somebody's not here or if you are rewatching it later, you have it. But we are combining BIM and drafting methods. And really the heart of it is, what do you have time to do in a project and what are you paid to do? If you are doing a kitchen, sometimes it just takes way too much time to go through and download every base cabinet and upper cabinet. So to save time, you can do a quick drafting modeling so that the client still gets a basic understanding of the space plan and how it's laid out. And really at the end of the day, no matter how you design it, the mill, the cabinet mill, is really going to be in charge of the drawings and how the cabinets get built. So as detailed as you get, you always pass it off to somebody else for that final production of the drawings. So it's okay to kind of let that go a little bit and work with the mill on what those drawings will look like. Okay, so starting off here in our bathroom, just to help me see the screen a little bit better, I'm actually going to go to VV and turn off my floor. So that's under model categories, and I'm going to turn off floors. And just a quick recap, I could have easily done an element hide, but I don't know if you guys know this yet, but it's kind of a pain to grab a floor, right? Because it's kind of hidden behind a whole bunch of stuff. So if I wanted to just hide that one floor and not go into VV, what was a shortcut I could have done? Do you guys remember the shortcut for one element versus all? EH, good. Nice, Tara. The writing's on the wall, guys. And if you notice, I haven't put in my interior elevation yet. I'm going to do that first so I can kind of get an idea of the view. Why don't we start, Carmen, do you mind if I start with you today? And maybe you can tell me how to put in an interior elevation, and then we'll come around to Samantha.
You go to view?
Yep, good. And then after that, Samantha, why don't you drive from there?
Then you go to, at the top it says elevation.
Perfect. And Olivia, what's the last thing I need to check or do before I place it in? And you can look at my screen. Does mine look right?
Right. Oh, you need to add the other views.
Yeah. So this is the right tag, and graphically you can tell it's right because an interior elevation should always be what shape? It should be a circle and not a square. And also here in my properties, do you notice that it says elevation, interior elevation? Mm-hmm. So just a quick check there. But Olivia's right. I'm going to just click and place this in the room and then escape a couple times so that it doesn't keep placing tags. And then Fabi, help me out. I'm clicking on it, but I can't add the views. Do you remember exactly where we need to click?
You hit the circle.
Yeah,
right
so
on the line.
Good, so you have to hit the line of the circle. Now let me come over here. See how I have one that's full of arrowheads? I'm skipping ahead a little bit. So here, I'm like, where's my circle? Nicole, do you remember what I can hit on my keyboard to get this up a little bit faster? Yeah, tab. I think you said tab. It kind of sounded like scab. Scab! I heard scab, but we'll take it. Good, so you can hit tab to kind of cycle through what it's selecting. And I don't know if that has become like normal to you yet, but I tend to hit tab a lot when I'm working in Revit. You might not have a ton of stuff in your model yet, but as your models get bigger and bigger, I think you'll be hitting tab more. So I'm actually just going to do these two views here. So this would be east and south. These two views. And then Tara, if I wanted to see exactly what this was showing, like from where to where, how could I activate that?
Do you pull the elevation sheet over into
Yeah, you could do it that way. And even a simpler way, if I'm on my screen, I can just click on the arrow. Yep. And then it's showing me it's going from here to here. And then I can double click on the arrow. There's that view. Do I have a bath? Did I put a light in my bathroom? Oh, Naima. Whoa. Master's degree at work. I don't even remember putting that in, but all right. Fancy. All right, I'm going to element hide this because I don't want to see it. So that's gone. And then last but not least, I'm going to tile my windows. Okay. So I'll give you guys a minute to kind of cycle through your views, add those tags, and then let's meet here-ish. Oh, do one other thing for me. I'm not going to do it yet. Please turn off all of your sections. If you see on my screen, I've got a whole bunch in the way. I'm not using them. I'm not printing right now, so I'd like to get those off. But just remember, when you turn them off, turn them back on before you print. Okay, and Carol?
I had already put in a marker
Yeah.
for this, and I do want to eliminate one of the views, the one that's going north.
Sure.
Do I just click on the circle and then check it?
Yep.
Uncheck it?
Uncheck it. So I'm going to kind of copy you. If yours looks like this, you can just click on the arrowhead. And then, oh, let me find the circle. There we go.
Okay.
And click off of it. It'll be deleted. That's okay. We don't have anything in there yet. Now to kind of follow up on what I was just talking about, to turn off all of my sections, Carol, did I talk to you yet? Or is it
No.
Lindy's turn? So Carol, what's the shortcut to turn off everything?
What
menu?
In this view, it would be VV.
Yep, so I'm going to do VV.
Yeah.
And then I go to annotation and then come down to sections. I'm actually just going to type it in.
Okay.
And then if I'm not sure if that's the right one, I can hit apply. And that did work. And then I can hit OK. Okay. And these are all different views. So if you notice, the sections are still on in my elevations. Right? So I can go through each one of those and turn them off too. So VV, and then annotation, section, and then Lindy, tell me the shortcut for this one. I only have one, so I'll just do it the shortcut way. What's the shortcut?
EA.
So click on it and then EH. And we'll talk about bringing them back a little bit later. Okay, is everybody with me? Yeah, good. So let me give you two more directions. In architecture, we're going to insert two components. One of them will be a residential 3D toilet, and another one will be a bathtub. So just to let you know, that's where I'm going. So I'm going to click on component. Actually, let me hit escape. No, sorry. I'm going to click on component. I don't even know if I need to load it. It might already be in this template. So let's see what we've got. Yeah, I have a tub rectangular 3D. And if you'll notice, take a look at my screen. See how it's giving me the no symbol? It wants a wall because it realizes that a tub needs plumbing. So it's looking for a wall to put the plumbing into. And now I'm going to come back and try to find a toilet, which is usually under water closet or toilet. I'll find out here in a minute. Nope, no toilets? Come on. What kind of a house is this? Robots? There we go. Toilet, domestic 3D. Okay. So place those two things in there and just, again, marvel at the wonder of Revit. Yay, there's my toilet and bathtub in the elevation view as well. Once you get those in, meet me in our east view. I'll meet you guys here.
So my tub is giving me a no sign no matter where.
Even if it's on a wall?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, mine doesn't like to be in the bathroom.
oh, you know what it might be? Your wall might, or sorry, these dimensions might not be wide enough for it.
I'm even trying like the living room, and that's not working.
So, Nicole, zoom in a little bit for me. I don't even see a tub in your cursor. Is there a no sign right now?
Clicked on it. Let's see, I'm probably just being special. So I clicked on it, but it's not. Oh, it wants to go outside.
Oh, all right. Very fancy house. I'm bringing it inside.
Oh, now it works, of course.
I
Did you
imagine.
set it here?
I'm telling you guys, take me to Vegas. Like your lucky charm. All right. Okay, I don't hear a lot of clicks, I'm assuming. You guys are with me? Yeah. Okay, what we're gonna do now is typically in a project, you want to have 18 inches from the edge of anything to the center of your toilet, and then 18 inches the other way. So I'm going, yours, I don't know where yours is, but mine is over that, so I'm just gonna do 1 space 6, or I could do 0 space 18. Either way. That's kind of what's, that's not kind of, that's what's required by code. So knowing that, if we know that we are going to be putting a vanity over here, there's so many ways that we could do this. What would you guys do to kind of help yourselves know where the edge of your vanity would go? Yeah, probably a reference plane might be your best bet. So I'm just going to sketch in a reference plane. I don't know exactly where it is. And I don't think we've done this before, so take a look at my screen. When you have an existing dimension, you can continue it. We haven't done our dimension day, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. But you can click on the dimension, and then up here at the top, do you see where it says Edit Witness Lines? You can click on that, and then essentially the last one that you were working on, do you see how it just keeps adding off of it? So now I can click here, and then click off of it. So you can continue it or draw a new one, either way, but I just wanted to show you, since we haven't gotten there yet, that it is possible. So again, if you click on any dimension string, Edit Witness Lines, it'll go ahead and keep going for you. So now we've got a little bit marker as to what size our, oh, what time is it? Not what time is it? What am I trying to say? I can't think. I'm too stressed out still. Now we have a marker as to what our dimension can be. Hello. Okay. Now if I were doing an overall dimension, so I'm just going to draw a new one, take a peek at where this marker is. Did I draw it? Let me do thin line, thick line. Did I draw it to the edge of my wall? Can you guys tell where this marker is? Do you guys know where that's measuring to? Do you guys see that it might not be my wall?
It's your door.
It's my door frame. Yeah, so Revit is showing the door frame here. So to be more accurate, I could grab this and scooch it down. Or not. I'll just delete it. I'm letting it go today. We'll just redraw it. Okay, so we've got 4 feet there. Just a pretty good size vanity. I'll take it. Why don't we do this? We're going to do this a couple different ways today. Why don't you guys go into the components and see if you can find a vanity, right? You might not find exactly what you like, but just take a peek at what's available. And then what we'll most likely do is element hide that and then sketch one in. Okay? I'm going to pause for just a minute. Let me start recording again. So did you have to load it or was it in the model?
It was in there.
Okay. And tell me again the name. Sorry.
Vanity, cabinet, double door, sink unit.
Okay.
The 48 because I'm assuming that's the length. 'Cause it's
Oh, where am I?
Mine didn't do that. Wait.
What
we
on
need to
earth?
try this again.
Okay.
My dimensions should be showing, but
Now, be careful what view you're in because remember, we've got 3 screens open right now. So click into the one that you want to show. Carol, did yours work for you?
That's what
Okay.
mine was.
Did that help, Olivia?
let's.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I was in the wrong
There you
Now
go.
it's-
Now you guys know why I was like, okay, with this VV and EH, it'll take me a minute. Was everybody able to find a vanity? Yes? It sounds like you might still be placing it, which is okay. So there's just a question about what elevation tag we placed / edited so that it doesn't have the whole name. So I have an interior elevation selected, so I'm going to go to edit type. And then you want to change the elevation tag 1/2 inch circle. So if you click in here, the 3 dots come up. Jessica, you're here, right? Okay, so this is the one that I went with. Elevation, mark body, circle, filled arrow. We tried so many different types, and the one that I thought it would be wasn't it, but this is the one.
I was clicking on the square.
Okay. No, this is the one that we're looking for. Right, so we've got this. And now what I want, well, let me ask, did everybody get a counter? Or not, I'm sorry, a vanity? Let's add a counter just so you can see what a counter looks like. Again, they're not very aesthetically pleasing. Let me see if there's one already loaded in. That's the L-shaped.
Countertop,
Oh, there is. Where is
right below Vanity.
Okay, I totally missed it. Okay, so Vanity Countertop with round sinkhole, is that the one?
Yep.
Okay, let's grab that. And I'm gonna flip it. Okay, that was really lucky. I didn't realize that it would be the right dimensions. My graphic card is having a hard time today. I don't know if you guys can see the previews on my screen, but it keeps showing objects that aren't really there. It's very bizarre.
Mine shows my toilet in one view, but not the other one.
Zoom in and zoom out. That's what mine
Yeah,
is doing.
I've done that.
It's just a graphic card thing. And if it's truly not there, we will adjust these view arrows because it might be that your view's here.
I pulled back, so it should be within there, but.
Still can't see it?
Yeah, that's weird.
And then it should be right there. I have a ghost toilet, and it's showing in this one.
Good. I'll come take a look at it in just
Okay.
a minute.
It's okay.
So this is what we can get with using BIM objects that are just built into Revit. Now there will probably be better ones that you can go and download off of B&B Italia or even the Polantis site, the BIM Object site. But even with that, if you don't necessarily have the time to go and download something, I'm going to show you right now how you can quickly come through and sketch an elevation. But there's something that's so important that I want to kind of point out to you guys that I'm like, how can I write this on the board? So right now, let's do this. Let's come into our floor plan, and we are going to delete our east elevation, okay? So we're just gonna delete it, and it'll warn us that it's going to be deleted. We'll say okay, and you'll notice that it disappears off of our view. Okay. Did you guys get that? Okay. Now, looking at our floor plan, did it delete any of the BIM elements or anything that we did? No. So it's easy to bring back because we can click on the circle again, turn on the east elevation, and then if I double click on it, I can even window tile again. Eventually I'll get there. You can see that everything's still there. So no harm done, correct? I wish that was the case in drafting mode. So in drafting mode, if you sketch something with any sort of drafting elements, whether it's lines or filled regions, if you delete that view, it deletes all of the drafting. And so I just wanted to make that clear. BIM objects won't be deleted when you delete the view because it still lives in the model. But 2D elements, anything that's drafted, once that view is deleted, those things are also gone. You guys with me there? Okay, there's one other point. So let me just write the word drafting up here. So the first thing I just said, it deletes from the view. And this is another thing that people just don't like about this at all. But I don't know how else to explain it. So when we are looking at our east elevation, we see the tub and the toilet, and we are about to draw or sketch a vanity. So there's a vanity here, but we're going to hide it and we're going to sketch one, okay? When you sketch in any form, whether it's AutoCAD, Revit, hand drafting, when you sketch, is it 2D or 3D? It's 2D, it's flat, right? So if I can see it in my east elevation, will I see anything on my floor plan?
No.
Mm-mm. So whatever you sketch is only per that view. It's not, it isn't a BIM object. So BIM objects are nice because they're 3D, we can see them in every view. But 2D objects, anything that's drafted, they're flat and they're view specific, okay? So I'm gonna write deletes from view and they're view specific. So essentially not 3D. So there might be a little bit more work to this because if we wanted to show a vanity truly in our interior elevations, just looking at my screen, how many views would we have to sketch it in? 3, right? We'd have to show it in the floor plan, at least one elevation. This one, depending on where you cut your elevation, you might be able to get away with it, but at least 2, right? So that's one thing that we are going to start to do right now. We'll do a really simple counter because usually with this vanity, one, people don't really like the aesthetics of it. Having a 4-foot wide vanity with just 2 doors isn't the most functional. Typically people would put drawers in it. Now it's more and more popular just to do open vanities so that there's just shelves and you put baskets in it. So the aesthetic has changed. And then I'm also seeing more and more people aren't using backsplashes even in bathrooms. So that's kind of another aesthetic that we are going to address. So for this, why don't we start in our floor plan, just because that will be the most simple. So let's not delete our 3D elements, let's just element hide them. So grab your counter and your vanity and just do element hide. So they're gone in the floor plan, but do you guys notice that they're still in the other views? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's because we didn't delete them, we just hid them per that view. And now we're going to go into a whole new menu that we haven't been in before, and that will be the annotate menu, and it's under the details. And really what we'll be looking at are detail lines and regions. Now if you guys wouldn't mind, I want to talk about detail lines and regions for just a minute. They're really similar to one another, but they act a little bit differently. I'm slightly obsessed with regions, but there's really no reason why you couldn't just do everything with a detail line, to be completely honest, okay? So a detail line is just that. It's a 2D line that you draw, and it doesn't have to be connected. So up until this point, when we did our roofs, our floors, I think those are the only 2. When we were doing our boundaries, we had to have it be closed. But details are such that you could come in and really just draw a line, or you can draw a circle, whatever it is you want to do. And there's even a few different line types that I can show you. Now, a region is a little bit different. A region is a little bit more like the boundary, where you start at one area and then you have to close it off. And what a region does is not only does it have a line around it, so with the detail line or the region, there's a line type. It could be a thick, a thin, a dashed line, a dashed dot line. There's lots of lines to pick from. Another one of the distinctions between them, so remember, detail lines can be single. Regions, they have to be a closed loop, whatever that shape is. But then the other difference is that the region gets filled with something. It could be filled with white, it could be filled with transparency, it could be filled with black, gray, or some sort of a poche. If you've taken AutoCAD, this is similar to hatching. You just fill it with some sort of a pattern. And the reason why I like working with regions instead of detail lines is that there have been many times in my project where I'm trying to hide something. Like there's just something weird about a wall where I get like a line down the middle that I don't want people to see. So I will use a region to hide whatever's going on behind my model, right? So maybe not like the best thing to admit, but it's a Band-Aid for me. It's the way that I've learned how to paint bucket over something. Because again, sometimes I am not paid to figure out what's wrong with my model. But if my construction drawings are reading accurately, I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes on something that could end up taking 2 hours of my time. I've gone down that rabbit hole too many times. So we are going to work with regions and detail lines just so you guys can see how they work. What we'll do first is let's make a vanity using a filled region, and then we'll make a vanity using a detail line. How's that? And then really what I want you guys to do with these exercises, find out what works for you. Like what I like the most doesn't have to be what you like the most. So really it's just about practice to find out what works for you. So with that, go ahead and click on detail line. And this menu should be familiar, right? We've seen that before with our boundaries. And over here, if you click down on line style, you can see the different types of lines. And usually thin lines for most of what we're doing is just fine, or even medium lines. And you can play around with this by turning on thin line, thick line. You can look at the line weight. Question?
Where did you click on detail line?
Oh, so go to annotate. Yep, and then detail line. You are welcome. So let me click on it again. Oh, and tell me if this happens to you. Do you see I kept clicking on it? I'm like, dude, why aren't you working? Help me out. I'm not stuck. What do I need to do? Yeah, it's this nice sea green. Like, oh, click on me. I wish it was this blaring yellow, but they're trying to make us relax, I guess. So look at my screen for just a minute. I'm going to run through a couple options. You can do a line by default, and you can click 4 times, right? Or, I'm too lazy, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to hit Control-Z a few times. Those are gone. You could also just click on rectangle and go from one corner point to the other corner point and essentially call it good. Okay. Now notice, unlike our boundary, do you see how there's no red X or green check mark? You don't need to do that here. When you're done drawing, you just hit escape, and then you have your countertop. When you click on detail, well, did you guys all get a counter drawn in? Yep. I'm going to do one other thing. So I think that for some of you who are really good at CAD, it will be frustrating to draft in Revit because you don't have all of the tracking options that you typically have in CAD. So it's kind of madness. But let me show you guys a couple things that might help. Let's say we want to have a square sink kind of centered in our vanity. So I can go to offset. We've used offset before a couple times. It was when we were doing roof overhangs. And I would like to make my offset, how far in do you think the sink should be from the edge? Like 2 inches about? More or less, 2 inches is good? We'll start with 2. So do 0 space 2. Oh, you have to go back to drawing a line.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you can't see it at all, the first one? Okay, let me pause real quick. All right, so we've got the 2-inch offset, and if I just go to line, as soon as I start drawing it, so let me do this really slow. I'm still going to come to that same place that I drew from, because it's essentially aligning to this, but do you see how it's drawing it 2 inches away? So again, I'm just kind of sketching because I don't know exactly how big the sink is or anything like that, but I do know that this is my first line. So for those of you who have taken CAD, this isn't anywhere close to like the perfect and precise that you are probably used to doing, right? The other thing that I can do is I can maybe even do a reference plane. So you can find the center of your vanity and do a reference plane. And then once you've found the center, what you could even do is, you know, copy or offset from either side of this. So let's decide this. How wide of a sink do we want? 18, 20 inches about? Should we do, let's do 18 inches, okay? So I've got this center line, and why don't you guys watch me do it first to see if it makes sense first. But I'm gonna go back to detail line. If my whole sink is 18 inches, I only want to offset 9 inches each side, right, from the center. So 0, 9, this is like my MacGyver way of trying to get things centered. And do you see where the line is going, even though I clicked on the center? So first it's offsetting here. How long do we want it? Maybe just 14 inches. So I'm gonna make it 14 inches long. And then I'm gonna hit escape to stop drawing that line. I'm not gonna hit escape again because I actually am gonna hit spacebar and flip it to the other side. And then escape to stop drawing that one. And then I'll close it up here. Maybe not. Oh, I'm still offsetting, so I went here and here. I need to completely get out and close the offset. Or just drag it over. That works too. Now, tell me, what command can I use to clean up these corners?
Trim.
Good, trim. And what I'll do, I'm going to start that whole process over again. That was quite a mouthful, just trying to center something. So I've got my vanity. Reference plane in the center. So I'm just taking my cursor and I'm tracking until this triangle pops up. That means it's the midpoint. That's where I put my reference plane. Does anybody need me to wait here for them? No? Okay. Throw up a hand if you do. Don't be shy. This is all totally new. I'm going to go back to detail line. And before I start drawing my line, I want to offset it 2 inches. So 0 space 2. And I'm coming back to the original line I drew. I know that sounds weird, but I want to offset it 2 inches from that edge. So I'm really just sketching it in, just kind of taking a guess. So now I've got one reference line here. Anybody need me to wait here? No? Okay. So for the next part, I want to draw this line here and this line here. So I'm going to go back to detail line, and if I know my sink, this time I'll change it. I'll say it's 20 inches wide. From the center, I've got 10 inches on one side and 10 inches on the other. So I'm going to go to offset and make it 0, 10. And then starting here, do you see how it's drawing it 10 inches above? So now I can go, I don't know, I'll make it just a foot this time. And then from here, I don't quite know where I'm at. So I'm going to hit escape just to kind of reorient. I'm going to come back to this point, and do you see how it's still drawing above the line? I hit spacebar to flip it. And now it's going to track to that other end. So super weird technique, but it works. Revit wasn't necessarily made for drafting. Lindy, did it not work? I hear you saying something, but I don't know what. Which part? And I'll go back to it so we can just do it together. Just tell me which part.
Well, when I did the 0, 10 offset,
Uh-huh.
it
So
was-
this part.
yeah, it's putting the line like way higher up.
So I bet you're doing 10 and not 0 space 10.
I did 0 space 10.
Let's try it. Remember that part where I magic? Let's try that part. Let me actually I messed this up. Do 1 to 2 inches. Okay. So let's do it together, okay? Are you at this point right here? Lindy, where are you? In fact, Lindy, just erase stuff and meet me here.
So draw
Okay,
a
well
line.
that's where I am, but
Okay.
my offset is just being.
That's fine. Hit escape. Let it go. That's fine. Meet me right here and we're going to start at the detail line together. So I'm going to do the shortcut for detail line, which is DL. So that hops me in. And let's just check before I start drawing. We're both at a line, right? Thin line. Yeah. And then over here on offset, 0 space 10. And then you should see 0 feet 10 inches. Good? Okay.
0 space 10.
And now what we want to do, come to your reference plane. Do you guys see the midpoint? Go ahead and click on it for me. And then just let me know, is your line drawing above the midpoint or below? Is it way above or is it 10 inches above?
It's the same as yours now, I think.
Okay, cool. What about you, Lindy?
It's
Yes or
above.
no?
Yes or no?
Is it drawing 10 inches, is it drawing above or below?
Above.
Okay. Is it drawing about 10 inches above?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lindy, this is the part where we go like this.
Also, my
Okay.
menu looks different than yours, so that's freaking me out a little bit.
Like
Like my ribbon across the top.
It's okay. So, look. Mine is now different too. It's still okay. Do you know how to fix it? Okay, so on mine, I click on Modify and Place Details, and it brings me back here.
Okay, well, so on mine, when I click on, it's just like bigger buttons with like little menus
Okay,
underneath.
so with that, let me finish this. I can do it in the middle of a command. See this button right here?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Keep clicking on that, and then eventually you'll get back to where you want to go. Okay?
It just stresses me out when it looks different than yours.
I love that you love me so much, so you want to be just like me. So now I'll finish this up. I'll make it 14 inches. Really make it whatever size you want. I mean, we're just kind of sketching. And I like to hit escape to reorient myself. When I end that line, I have no idea where I am, and I don't want to find out. So I'm going to restart, but hit spacebar to flip it. And then one last line here. Nope, I am so doing it wrong. I swear I'm not doing this to be like, guys, what am I doing? Let's learn from teacher. No, I'm just not paying attention. I'm so frazzled. Oh, okay, there we go.
How did you get it to flip? Because I pressed spacebar and it's still on top.
I would just hit escape and start over. I know that sounds silly, but spacebar should do it. But with mine, so take a look at my screen, Jessica. So I did this first and it was perfect, okay? And then I hit escape to start over down here.
Okay.
Is it working now?
Well, so do I click on the midpoint and then press spacebar?
Let me do it with you. So detail line. So click to start drawing. Oh, and I don't even have my offset, so let me start my offset again. So offset first, whoops. And now click to start drawing, and do you see how mine is going up?
Yeah.
Okay, now I hit spacebar to flip it to the other side. Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of new things to remember.
For the trim, we click on the lanes we want.
Yes, so TR, click on what you want to keep. Yep. So this is how we would go through and sketch a really simple vanity. Now, notice here we don't have like a hole in the sink. We don't necessarily have the faucets yet. So it's really simple. It's really just space planning. This is where the sink will go. And most people are able to read this on a plan, but if they're not, you walk through your client. You walk your client through the plan and let them know what everything is. You're fine.
When I'm trying to put my sink with the offset, as soon as I click, it says enter a value or a formula starting with equals.
So when you are drawing, you have to do it two different ways. You have to do DL, click to start it and click to end it, or you just put in whatever it is. So 0, 14, enter. If it is giving you that message, the way that you're entering the inches or the dimensions, there's some sort of integer in there that it doesn't like. So what are you trying to do? Let's finish it together.
I am just trying to get my first offset line, the 14 inches.
This one up here?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it together one more time. So you are here, right? Okay, for the rest of you, I'm gonna let you guys loose. No, you're fine. Stay where you are. I'm gonna have you guys come to your east view, element hide your vanity and countertop, and start to draw a vanity. We're gonna go over dimensions in just a minute, but just start sketching it for me. So Lindy, let's start here. You've got this line, right? But yours probably looks something like this, right? Yeah, that's totally fine. So let's hit escape. Let's clear everything out. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now, keep hitting escape until you have your cursor. Okay. Is it still a cursor?
It's still the little cross guy.
Okay, what menu are you in, up here or down here?
I'm in the green, modify, place detail lines.
Okay, so click back into your courtyard level and now hit escape. Okay, so now Lindy, we're gonna breathe because this is not that big of a deal, okay? So the only thing I need from you right now, first look at me, okay? Only thing you have to do is say yes or no. If you say no, I know it's not working and we'll try it again. Just yes or no, no frustration in it because it's been like 15 minutes and a rough start. So let's try it again. So our shortcut is DL, okay? Now you should see the crosshair, okay? Let's go to offset and make it 0 space 14. Enter. Does it say 1 foot too? Okay. Come down here and find the center. Okay. Click to start your line. And do you see it drawing above? Now enter 0 space 14. Oh, I did 41. Okay, let me do that one more time. 0 space 14, enter.
Yes.
Good. Hit escape because we're done drawing that line. Okay. Click to start it again. Where is it drawing? Top or bottom?
Top again.
What do you hit?
Spacebar.
Okay. Flip it good.
Oh, and then it just lines on.
Yep. You good? Okay, and then hit escape to stop drawing. And then from here, do your TRs, do another detail line, whatever you need to kind of finish that up. We made a big sink. I just needed something new, so I knew where it was going. Okay?
I'm back to CCC.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to flip my views around. So I'm in a window tile. I want a little bit more real estate as I start sketching. I'm even going to element hide my door because I want to draw the whole vanity without that there. So I'm going to do element hide. This is me just talking out loud because, again, when you're sketching something, you don't quite know where to start. So I'm going to go DL, and I'm not even measuring yet, but I know that I need a toe kick. I'm going to need a top of a cabinet, and I'll need a countertop somewhere. Fair? Right? We just need those 3 lines to start. Yes? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller. All right. So this is where I like starting to put in dimensions, just because I think it's helpful. But I'm going to do DI, and I'm going to measure from the floor to the top of my vanity. Now, what I could have even done is done a reference plane at the top of my vanity, okay? Now, if we were making this ADA, what would our counter height be at? It's 34 inches. You don't need to know that. Yep, so you could do it 34, but typical in a house is 36. So let's just say we're doing a typical house, so I'm going to make it 3 feet tall. Everybody with me so far where I got that 3 feet? Is this my backsplash or just the top of my counter? Just the top. I don't want a backsplash. If you wanted a backsplash, draw another line for however thick you want your backsplash to be. Does that make sense? Okay. Here is my second line. You guys look, my quick dimension's actually helpful. Yours won't be because you're never as lucky as me. I shouldn't show off, but I'm just saying. Okay. Countertop thickness, the standard was like 1.5 inches. But nothing is standard anymore, right? Like everybody wants a granite countertop. So you could go anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch to even I've seen people do like a 1/4 inch like floating counter with like a beveled edge and back. Whatever you want to do here. I'm going to go with 1 inch. How does that sound? That's my counter thickness. So right now, I don't necessarily know if the dimensions really matter, but the technique is really what's driving everything, right? So the technique is that we just draw these detail lines, we sketch them in, and when I say sketch, it just means that we're not being exact, we're just kind of throwing them in to see what it looks like. And then we're going back through with our ruler, which is our dimensions in this case, and then we're putting them in the precise location. So let's take a look at this bottom line here, right? This is my toe kick. There are so many different types of bathroom vanities now. Let's ask our friend Google to show us bathroom vanities. You guys tell me, what's the standard toe kick dimension? 4 inches, yep. But now if we look at these, yeah, these are 4, but I have seen some that are like essentially floating. That's bigger than 4, right?
Right.
Okay, so just know that at a minimum, you need 4, but let's look at these wall-mounted ones. I mean, is there even a toe kick here? There's not. So how about I take a step back and you guys go find an image online and just try to sketch that for me. Are you guys comfortable doing that for a sec? Okay. And really the thing to keep in mind is keep it a simple sketch because you can always show the owner an image of it, right? You don't want to spend 4 hours sketching something and then find out that it's too expensive or that they hate it. Just do something quick as a placeholder, and then once you get the approval, you can spend more time or not. Do you guys mind if I talk while you sketch? Okay. Usually when I'm working on a project, let's say you found a vanity that you liked, you could still use drafting to maybe put in like a mirror or something like that. Maybe you couldn't find, at this point really you can find almost everything online. But so I just saw on Carmen's screen, she has a nice round mirror. I'm gonna kind of steal that idea. So you could even go into, let's say I finished my vanity. I could even go to DL for detail line. There is a circle here, and math is hard, but you have to work by default. Do you see how it's doing the diameter, which is 1/2? If you're like me and you just can't think that hard, click on radius. Carmen, does it show about the dimensions of that mirror? Let me do this. I know West Elm has one. Let's do West Elm round mirror. And sometimes they're weird dimensions, especially if you're buying from like a European site. West Elm is not. Okay, it's 30 inches. So I'm going to do a 30-inch mirror. So I could click on radius, 0 space 30. I did that wrong.
You did.
Oh no, Naima. I still don't know what I'm doing. Radius. I want it to be the diameter. Don't turn on radius. Let me see if this works. I'm going to do 0 space 30. It's still too big. Why, Revit? Why? There has to be something on my screen to fix this. Okay, fine, I'm going to do math. I know that half of 30 is 15 inches, so I will begrudgingly put that in here. And then if you guys can see in the preview, do you see how there's a really thin frame around it? What command can I use to get a thin frame? Offset, good. So I'm going to go back to detail line, grab the circle. Should we say like a 1/2 inch? Okay. So offset 0 space half. And I click on that same circle. No, I don't. I'm going to find the center of it. And this looks really weird, but take a look at my screen. It's actually snapping at every 1/2 inch offset. What I need to do is find the edge of my circle and space bar so it flips it in. Do you guys see that? And then there's a 1/2 inch offset. And if you're feeling really fancy, I know that a lot of you guys like to put in the reflection lines. And these I'm just freehanding. Okay. But that's why I kind of like to mix it up a little bit. Now, in a week, let me make sure I'm not lying. Hold on. Okay. So in a week, you guys will have an extra credit assignment. That's a preview of what we'll be doing right after spring break. A lot of times right after I teach this 2D class, people are like, well, how would I just build something in 3D? So part of this class is actually learning how to build really simple 3D models. And as part of your final project, I'm going to ask you guys to create something in 3D and also have it be printed on the 3D printer. So this first part is just an extra credit assignment on the 13th that you guys can watch and try to build something in 3D, or you can just keep working on your project. But just know that if you tried it and it didn't work, it's coming after spring break. So 13th, I have it as a review day, and what I'm actually going to do is I most likely won't be here on the 13th. I might be here a little bit later. So the 13th, you guys can come in and use the lab and work, or it can just be a work from home day. So the only thing that will be assigned a week from today on the 13th will be that extra credit extrusion assignment. On Tuesday, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the midterm, but that will also be a great week to try and find your midterm and start cleaning it up, whatever that means, right? So if you haven't done a midterm before, I can show you the base plan so you can start sketching it up, or you can start cleaning up your AutoCAD file, your drafting file, whatever it is. And really at any point you can start working on it. And then what we'll do on the 18th and the 20th, if you guys look at our assignments, it's annotation. We're still working on the tiny house that week, but there's no reason why you couldn't also simultaneously be working on your midterm, okay? And then 2 weeks after that, so all the way down on the 3rd, we're going to be working on these for a while. Those 2 classes are all midterm in-class work days, okay? So a lot of midterm coming up already. Carol?
For the AutoCAD plans that we'll be using for this midterm,
Yeah.
Are we importing anything or are we redrawing?
Nope, you'll be importing
Okay.
it. So you will be redrawing it, but you can actually use Revit to import in a CAD base plan and trace over it. It makes life a lot easier. So that'll be an exercise that we will do most likely on, I was planning on the 25th, but if we can get through annotation sooner, I'll start that sooner than later, just so you guys can try
You're
that.
not wanting us to start drawing from scratch?
No, not at all.
Okay.
There will be a couple of you, sorry, that will essentially be starting from scratch. But, you know, it'll be okay. And actually, no, I'm so sorry, Carol, I'm looking at my schedule. So if you look on the 11th, we are still supposed to be in drafting and annotation. And if we feel comfortable with this and we essentially wrap it up today, we could even do that class on the 11th. I can show you guys the import sooner. And then whatever else you guys need with drafting and annotation, we can come, drafting and BIM modeling, we can come back to. Okay. I want to show you guys a couple kind of shortcuts that I have learned over the years. Okay. Not to sound like I'm so old and wise, but you know, I've learned how to rig the system. So over here, I have a quick dimension and it's at 7 inches, and I'm going to bring this up really high. I'm going to make it a foot. So this is going to be like a floating style. And another thing that you can do is I'm going to be throwing 2 new commands at you guys right now. So you can copy a line by clicking on it and hitting CC. And the way that it works is you hit CC, you click on the line that you want to copy, and that's what's called its base point. That's where you're copying it from. And can you see on my screen it's kind of giving me a little preview as to where it can go? Okay, I'm going to hit escape and do that one more time. Click on the line, CC to copy, and again, it's waiting for you to pick it up. So it's like, okay, I know you want this, but where do you want to pick it up from? So click on the line, and now do you see that your cursor is kind of carrying it or copying it for you? So if I wanted to divide this into 4 sections, that was lame. Let me do it one more time. CC. Do you see over here you have to click on multiple? There's some things that I have to do in Revit that drive me insane. Like, who just wants to copy something once? That never happens. I think multiple should be on all the time. So click on multiple, and then you can keep going. So this is my 2nd section, this is my 4th section. Do you guys see that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you guys take just 10 seconds and think about how I could easily make these all equal? I see some yeses. Yeah? Let me show you. Dimensions? Yeah. So I can do a DI. There's my equal. And it just scooches them all into an equal position for me. So this is really helpful vertically too if you're doing kitchen cabinets. So imagine you have a long row of kitchen cabinets. You just start throwing lines down until it looks right and then equal them out. Measure it. If it looks good and the dimension seems okay, you can keep it. That's what I end up doing quite a bit. So the only thing that I haven't shown you guys yet is a region and how a region is different from these sketch lines. So for this part, I'm going to actually tile my windows back to my countertop, and I'm going to redraw my counter using detail lines. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing this with me, if it was a wall and I wanted to grab a whole bunch of them, how would I select them all at once? It's our class chair. Good. So hover, tab, click, and if you drew all of your lines in one segment, it'll grab all of them. And then I hit delete. I'm getting rid of all of that hard work. I think I did that 11,000 times. Right? And what we're going to do is click on region. And you see how most everything here looks the same, except now the green check mark and the red X is back. And then over here on properties, do you see what I'm about to draw? I'm about to get a diagonal crosshatch. Maybe not the best thing for a counter, but there's wood. Do you guys want to do a wood counter? It'll look cool in a bathroom. We did wood countertops in our kitchen because it was like $200 to do the whole thing, and we're like, this will be temporary. And now 7 years later, I'm like, we're never changing. Okay. And just like before, grab your rectangle. You can go from corner to corner and then hit the green check mark. I went through that quickly, but hopefully it was familiar. Was that, you guys okay with that? Okay, just don't forget your green check. And do you guys see wood grain on your counter? Okay.
Hold on, what tab was that under?
Let me go back to edit boundary. So when you're done, do you see the green check? So hit the green check and you should be done.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So now that we have this, hooray, we've got our wood grain here. But here's, let me throw a couple things at you. Remember how we turned off our floors at the very beginning? Let's turn them back on. And the reason why I want to turn them back on is if things are working correctly, we shouldn't be able to see our floors through our countertop right now. Right? The wood grain is on top. Carol, are you okay?
I'm trying to do my element on high.
Okay, did you do VV or EH? I think we did VV because we just turned off the whole floor.
They're so hard to ground.
Yeah.
So
VV.
I know. Oh, okay.
VV just bring back the whole floor. Now, just to show you guys really quick, I'm going to go to detail line and I'm going to draw this pretend little counter right here. Do you guys see the difference between doing it with a boundary or a filled region versus lines? See how that floor is coming through? You won't always have a floor. Like I typically don't show a floor. I don't show my floor patterns because it just gets so crazy. But a lot of people in this class do, so that's why I say sometimes it's nice to have a boundary just to kind of like put a fresh coat of white or whatever. And then what you could even do, now that we have this boundary, let me see if there's solid white. There's solid black. Okay, make it solid black. And then this is where I'm like, fly little birdies. Spend a minute to see if you can change this to be white. You will have no idea what you're doing, but see if there's something in it that might seem familiar. And in like 20 seconds, I'm gonna hop back in and show you how to do it. How many of you guys think that you might be on the right path? Maybe? Good. So let's see if you were close. So I'm going to go to edit type. How many of you guys got that far? Yeah, good. And then it says that it's solid black, but we're about to change it. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm not going to call you out, but if you forgot to duplicate it, it's okay. You can always come back and fix it later. And I'm not going to call this solid white because if it's solid white, it just looks like it's hanging, right? So I'm just going to call it white. And then this is where it always takes me a minute. So I want to make sure that my my foreground pattern color is white and that my background pattern color is also white. So this just means that when we were doing our wood grain, the foreground is the wood grain, so that was black, but you could come through and put gray behind it or whatever color you want behind it. It doesn't have to be a white background. So I'm going to do white, and this I will just have to test out. I might have to change the line on this, and it's just a solid fill. So let me click on these 3 dots. If you are curious as to what other patterns exist in Revit, there's not many, but here you go. These are the other patterns that you can take a look at. Okay. And then after that, I hit OK. And I do have a black outline on this. So now it's just a white counter. Did you guys feel comfortable going through that? Pretty familiar? So now that I've got this region, what I can do is actually come back with a detail line and sketch on top of it, because I've kind of got this blank area to sketch on. So you can still combine the two if you wanted to. Or you could come back and draw a whole bunch of regions. I laugh at my husband because anything he drafts in Revit are filled regions. I was like, that was a lot of effort for a rectangle inside of a rectangle inside of a rectangle. Even when you click on them, they act differently. So see, when I click on my detail line, it just grabs one edge, right? If you click on these, you've got different points to pull from. It's a little bit different. So you can take your pick, but just know that sometimes you will need a region. So for your assignment this week in your 2-bedroom as well as your modern casita, what I'm asking you guys to do is to do your bathroom elevations using a mix of drafting techniques. So exactly what we did today. Draft some of it, sketch some of it, whatever you want to do. Okay. Let me read the assignment just to see if we're kind of all in agreement that we've gone over everything now. I think that's always helpful to do. It's better to do it in here than have you guys get home and be like, what does this mean? Where were you going with that? Let's see. Okay, so this is for the modern casita. I'll change that so we know which one it is. We did quickly look at this at the end of class, so I'm going to say interior elevation markers created for the bathroom and an additional space of your choice. Sorry, let me go to student view. Is this the right one? Ah, okay, I thought that was wrong. I was like, I remember changing the names on these. Okay, so go ahead and scan that. Instead of me reading it, why don't you guys read it and then raise your hands if you have questions or see any inconsistencies. And I'll ask you guys one other thing. While you're reading through it, would you guys be ready to try drafting a kitchen, even if it's just one view? Samantha?
So in like my living room and dining room,
Yeah.
I've got furniture that's not up against the wall. So then do I not do interior elevations for those?
No, you could still, so we still want to see the space, but it's just a matter of where you want to pull the line and if you want to show the space planning for it. So you could pull that line all the way to the wall and ignore the furniture, or pull it up so people can see your furniture arrangement. Okay. What do you guys think? May I change this so that you essentially just have a living area, right? So it would be, if I go to the plan, I'd actually like to see your take, maybe just the north view, like, or just one view of it.
Because the other one's a window.
Yep. And even with this, pull in the stove, whatever appliances you want, similar to the bathroom. So combine techniques. And in fact, for me, I don't even care how you do it. Just do one of them. So whether you want to do it all BIM or drafting and BIM, all drafting, just try the kitchen. And I'll say, let's do it this way. I will want at least 2 views, right? So at least 2 elevations. And if you want to do a third for extra credit, you can do a third. Okay?
So that will replace the
Living room B.
two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm going to edit both of those assignments now because they're basically the same thing. So I'm going to edit those real quick. But any other questions on this? One thing that I will also specify on this is on your plans, I do want you guys to use the correct interior elevation tag. So not the one with the names, but the one with the view numbers. Okay? So let me, oh, that's not what I wanted to edit.
What do you mean by that?
I'll show ya. Am I still recording? Good. I'm still recording too, so if you need to come back for clarification. See how this has a 1? When we started it that first day, this used to say elevation 1B, elevation 2B. It was really long. No, whatever's easier for you. If it's easier for you to follow it exactly, follow it exactly. If something's easier for you to lay out because you're just doing 2 views, whatever 2 views they are, do those 2 views. Okay? I am getting so lazy. So at home, I voice dictate all of my stuff now, and when I have to type, my hands are just like, whoa. Oh. Ah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so for the kitchen, I updated it. Please create 2 interior elevations and a 3rd for extra credit. You may follow the plan or create your own unique layout. You may use any combination of BIM/drafting techniques in the kitchen. Okay, so any one of those. And that one's going to be worth a little bit more, just it's going to take longer. And then I'm going to add one more label, just that your interior elevation tags are shown as numbers and not titles. Sorry. And what I'll even on this one, it's kind of a bigger assignment. I'm going to extend this date a little bit. Because we don't have class on the 13th, I'm going to go ahead and keep it open until the 13th at the end of class. Does
Meaning she just said that she's not going to be here, so we can do a work from
Yeah.
home or working class in the lab.
So I'm just going to extend it so that way if you need more time, if it's a crazy weekend, we'll just do it that way. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I always keep them open for an extra week. So if you're not here, you don't have to be like, oh, open the assignment, blah, blah, blah. If it happens a couple times, I will just shrug and keep moving on. But if every assignment is red at midterm, I'll be like, hey, one more, and I'm going to start marking it down. So we're going to change that to the 13th. Okay. All right. And then I'll just essentially do the exact same thing on the modern 2-bedroom. Okay. The thing that you guys have to keep kind of in your back pocket, and I'll talk about this on Tuesday, just think about that midterm. I know it seems insane that we're in week 4, but I want you guys to have a really good solid month to try and work on it, so think about it. On Tuesday, I'm actually going to rearrange the schedule. What we'll do on Tuesday is I'm going to show you previous semester's midterm projects, and then we'll do uploading CAD, like how to upload CAD and start your midterm. That's what we'll do. So totally different, but I feel like after today, if you have questions about drafting, let me know, but I think we're done. Are we done? Okay. But if you're working on your midterm, we have all of these lab days coming up. Ask me and we can go through it again.
A lot of it will be sort of those things like copying lines and making these, you know, little tricks that
Yep.
you might get
And
frustrated with.
yeah, and the biggest thing is it's not AutoCAD, so
Right.
reference lines, dimensions, offsets, that's really what I like to do. I didn't go over mirroring, but mirroring is still there if that's something you it's DM. Go figure. Damn.
Mirror.
Sorry, that was on the recording.
So you click on the object first and then do DM?
Yeah, and it's really weird because there's two different mirrors, but DM is the one that you'll be familiar with, where you select the line.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, I do have two somewhat important announcements for this class. So the first one is, if you would still like to join the Interior Design Club, please let me know. I've been really bad about announcing it in here. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. But I have the paperwork in my office, and again, we're trying to get that wrapped up before the 14th, but you may also do it after the 14th. The 14th is our deadline to get double the dues. So I'll bring that in here if you guys are interested. And then we are also, the departments, so architecture and interior design, is looking for at least 1 or 2 work study students. So I want to make sure I get these details right, so let me pull up the email. But essentially, if you qualified for financial aid this semester and you're looking for a job and you would like to work on campus, we would love to hire you. And I can't spell, so work stuffy. No, that does not work. So the job would entail organizing the textile lab, assisting with 3D printing and the laser cutter. So it's actually really fun stuff. And it will, I think she said, the time is flexible, but it will be, I think it caps out at 15 or 20 hours a week. So it's not a huge commitment, and if you're already at campus, it might be a good opportunity for you. If you're interested, just send me a message on Canvas and put work study as the subject, and I will forward your information on to Mojde, because it's finally posted, so you guys can actually apply for this. And we'll send you the job listing if you can't find it. But I'd love for any of you guys to apply, and I'll teach you how to use the laser cutter. Jameson will teach you how to 3D print, and if you have OCD, go organize the textile lab. But it'll be a really fun opportunity, I think.